Suspended Public Protector, Advocate Mkhwebane, has presented her evidence of alleged extortion claims involving the Section 194 Inquiry Chairperson Kubutile Jangi, as well as ANC Chief Whip Pemi Majodina and the late ANC MP Tina Jumat Patterson. Let's continue to unpack this. We're now joined via Zoom by Karam Singh, Executive Director at Corruption Watch. Well, thank you so much for your time. There's a lot to unpack, I must say. But perhaps let's start here. I mean, so the suspended public protector now says that she's handed over evidence, to the South African Police Services, the Hawks, as well as Parliament, that involves around 90 text messages and 2 audio recordings. And those were, of course, exchanges between her husband as well as the late Tina Jumat Patterson. I mean, you've listened to that briefing. What do you make of it? And what do you make of some utterances, particularly around the evidence that the suspended public protector was talking about?
Thanks so much, Anati, for having me on the program. I wasn't able to hear the entire press conference, but I was able to hear a little bit of the Q&A at the end. We have to acknowledge this is quite an extraordinary move by the public protector. Based on her representation, she feels compelled to have come to the public with this information because of the manner in which the information is, she alleges, is being treated by officials at Parliament and by law enforcement. I think it's an unfolding story, and ultimately the proof is now going to be in the evaluation of the evidence. I saw that there was a bit of a discussion there around hearsay at the end, and it's clear, or it's not completely clear, what we're listening to. Are we just listening to Ms. Jumat Patterson? Are there others who, the other 2 accused? Do we have any recordings with them, saying incriminating things? So I think that, that was one of the questions that Karen Moon was putting to the public protector that didn't come out clearly. So I think, from what I heard from the recordings, it was very difficult to make out anything particularly coherent. Also, we, at this stage, haven't had an opportunity to review the text messages. So it's very difficult, to make any substantive comment on whether this evidence is sufficient to establish the claim of extortion.
And just, on that, I mean, towards the end of her reading her statement, her initial statement before the Q&A, she listed a number of demands, that she would have liked to see follow. And I'd like to unpack just one of those, given what you are saying about the lack of evidence that we saw this afternoon. She says that, given the evidence that the recusal of Kubutile Jangi, who is the chair of the Section 194, looking into her fitness to hold office, must then be implemented almost immediately, and also saying that President Cyril Ramaphosa must account for abuse of power for her suspension. I mean, given what we've seen today, is this enough to ask and to expect, in fact, Kubutile Jangi to then recuse himself as the chair of the inquiry?
It's not clear to me that it is enough, and she's using every tactic that's available to her to try to impugn this process, and in this regard, she's squarely taken the chairperson of the committee within her sights. If there is evidence that the chairperson did engage in any kind of wrongdoing, that he was directly involved with the public protector's husband, then for the 194 committee to be able to proceed with its work, it may be appropriate for Mr. Yankees to step aside while the matter is being investigated. But as I said, without being able to really scrutinize the evidence that she's presented, I think it's a little bit premature to say that. But I think what's important at this stage is that we do see the 194 process completed, that the process has not been an illegitimate process, that there were serious questions that needed to be asked about the public protector's fitness to hold office, and it was on that basis that the proceeding it's taken place. It's taken quite a long time. We're getting close to the end of the public protector's term in October. So, if the recusal of the chairperson is necessary to ensure that this process is speedily concluded, then so be it. But based upon what's been presented thus far, I think it's a little bit premature to be able to sit here, as a member of the public listening to this and say that, that his recusal is required now. Let's listen to the tapes, let's read the SMSs, and then let's take it from there.
Mr. Singh, as we wrap this conversation, and very briefly, as Corruption Watch, how concerned are you that she's basically labeled some members of the judiciary, as actually being captured? She's named several, she's mentioned that she knows of several judges that could potentially be captured.
That's clearly one of her bolder claims, that and a kind of, a claim around improper motives on the part of the president in suspending her. Again, I haven't seen, it's not clear, certainly not clear from the text messages as they've been described to us, or the recordings that she's has put forth any evidence to the public to support complicity of the judiciary in some kind of grand conspiracy against her. It's within her right to make that claim. Let's see her back that up with some substantive evidence. And it's unclear to me that we're going to find that in these text messages or in the recordings.
I appreciate your time, Mr. Karam Singh, Executive Director there of Corruption Watch. All right, this is where we wrap the first hour of SA Today. I'll be back at the top of the hour with more of your stories. Of course, we continue to unpack this particular story. Stay with us.